Companions in Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord are one of the best parts of the game. It allows you to create your own Fellowship of the Ring to help you bring order or tyranny to Colorado. They can fill certain roles in your clan and, depending on your luck at game creation, give you a substantial boost in the early game. But who or how do you find the best companions? Well, in this video today, I'm going to give you a breakdown of each companion by role and organize them from best to worst within that role. We'll start out by giving you a quick breakdown of some information about companions that you might not be aware of. And please, if you are a certain amount of hours into your campaign and don't have one of these companions, don't worry about it. Even the worst companion will skill up and become custom built how you want them. So don't think you have to re-roll your campaign or anything like that. This is just a means to help you in your first or maybe your next campaign, whatever it is. You can jump ahead to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. Also, if you don't want to watch the video at all, you can simply use the Excel spreadsheet I've linked in the description below. A huge shout out to Strat Gaming for compiling all the information within. You can find a link to his channel in the description as well. He has a ton of really helpful, very detailed Bannerlord breakdown videos. If you go to the wiki for Bannerlord, that's out of date by a few versions, and Tailworlds has been pretty consistent with adding new companions. So you'll find some of them there, but not all of them. But before we get started, if you end up enjoying the video, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. Help me to become the true emperor of the YouTube algorithm. Let's get started here on the best companions in Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Booting up the game, let's go into just some quick information about companions first. It's like when you go to look at a recipe and they give you the fucking history of something before you actually learn the recipe. But this is actual pertinent information, I promise. So if you press escape and go to, or whatever it is to bring up the menu in your console, go to campaign options, you'll see the option here to auto allocate clan member perks. So if you don't want to manage a kind of fledgling companion that isn't maxed out on their skills, you would click this button and it auto allocates all of their perks. You don't have to worry about it. Just want to kind of quickly bring that up. But your companions, if we go into our clan screen, are going to be found here on the left side of the screen. Now, your family is different than your companions. Your family does not take up the companion slots that you've got. So if you're playing the main campaign, or if you're playing the sandbox, and you've gotten married and had kids, or in the main campaign, your brother and you've gotten your your younger brother and sister, they would appear in your family location. And you can use them for all intents and purposes exactly like a normal companion, but again, they don't take up any allocation towards this companion amount. And you can expand this companion amount by increasing your clan tier. You can see right here, clan tier bonus, additional clan party +1, additional companion limit +1. So those are important things and ways that you would get access to more companions within your clan. Moving into the party screen, we can see we have the ability to create a new party. Clicking that, we can click on one of our companions, and I don't know why it's showing me these other things. I guess it's kind of pertinent, but you'd have them be a party leader. Now, this is kind of going to be in its own section when we talk about a specific role, but when you're looking for the best party leader, you'd want to find a character with really high leadership and tactics. So you'd go back to parties, you'd create a new party, and you'd click Dwayne the Golden. Now you then, from there, if I press done here, I'll just press done. I can allocate soldiers to his army. I've got his troop amount just like I've got my troop amount, and this sets him up on his own party. Keep in mind though, this doesn't mean that you don't have to pay him. You still have to pay them, and it has kind of an initial startup cost. So if I take a look right here, my main party wages is 1,800. I'm going to press done. I'm going to press done again. And if I hover over this now, party expenses have gone up to 5,100 because I gave him a bunch of top tier troops. If I let this kind of go, that amount will go down and that will regulate, and he'll start to actually bring in money, which is pretty cool. Those are all fun things, and you can see him on the map kind of doing his own jam. But I wanted to quickly kind of bring that up because it is a large portion of the party process, or I'm sorry, of the companion process. Now, further into parties, you also have your individual roles. Now, this is what we're going to be really focusing on throughout this video, but I want to kind of help break this down for you. And I've talked about this in my beginner's guide video, but you've got each one of your 4 roles. Your quartermaster, which is pretty much going to increase your party limit. Your scout, which is going to give you sight on anything that has a certain radius around you. So if you have higher scout skill, you'll be able to see further away from you. Surgeon, which is going to help out with recovering troops, making sure that your troops don't actually die, they just get wounded in combat. And Engineer, which is in the extent of the campaign map is concerned, it helps you out with sieges. If you're a governor, it can help you out with buildings and stuff like that. But if you assign no one to these roles, the party leader is automatically assumed to be in that role. If I click this, it gives me a list of all of my companions. And if I hover over each one, it shows me what perks would then apply to this individual in that role. So myself, Constantine, I've got 280 steward. I've got all these perks. Effects, increase party size by plus 70. But this guy, increase party size by 0.5. So, well, I guess I know who's going to be the quartermaster. The scout, let's look at myself. Well, I only have 11. Track detection radius, max track difficulty, spot distance, track information, that's all pretty low. But if you look at this dude, he's already in the front. He has 143 scout. He's got all these perks that are attributed to it and all these effects that are kicking in. We'll do him. Like this dude. Oh, well, he's got 80 surgeon or 80 medicine. He's there. So basically kind of quickly look through these and see who you want to be in these roles, because that's who we'll be talking about. We'll also go into, of course, who are going to be the best caravan masters, best governors, and so on and so forth. But I did want to quickly show those things off. And these roles apply to the perks. So there's a bunch of different perks, right? We're going to go over that right now by clicking this button, and we'll go to leadership. I'm going to hover over this one. This says governor and then dash party leader. So that parenthetical notation tells you how this perk will apply to you. I've used a cheat console to boost this character up for a stream for Tail Worlds. Don't look at him as anything. Your character should never be level 6 with all these red numbers. This is all a bunch of cheating, but just ignore that part. So that parenthetical notation here for governor dash party leader tells me that the top line of this perk applies to being a governor. Since I am the main character, I will never be a governor. So let's click over to Dwayne the Golden here. And we'll go to leadership. We'll hover over this one. Party leader / party leader. You as the main character are assumed to always be the party leader. But Dwayne the Golden, we just put him in charge of a party. So he is now a party leader. So he would get both of these perk attributes active as the party leader. Over here, party leader and governor, well, only the party leader portion is going to be active here. Party leader, so you get the point. If I look at steward, you'll see quartermaster. Okay, reduce food consumption while in an army by 10%. I have assigned myself quartermaster, so quartermaster will apply to myself. If I had another companion and they had this perk would only be active if they were in the quartermaster role. One last example, just to really drive it home. Doctor's Oath, surgeon. Your medicine skill also applies to enemy casualties, increasing potential prisoners. Now, because that one character was assigned to the role of surgeon, he gets this perk. But also, you see personal, meaning it will always be active regardless of what's going on, right? Because it's just a personal attribute. So increases max health by 5. So hopefully these things kind of give you a good idea of how companions operate in the world. The other big thing I wanted to talk about too is how to find companions. So you find companions by simply bringing up the encyclopedia. And I'm using a mod here to show off some things we're going to talk about in this video. So ignore stuff if your encyclopedia doesn't look like that. It's called the Encyclopedia Extender mod. You can find it on the Steam Workshop. But you're going to go ahead and go to Heroes. And then you're going to look on this left side. And you're going to look for Occupation. Wanderer is what you want to find. This is what it'll look like by default. Well, we want to go Occupation, Wanderer. You can click Alive, but it won't really matter. So shouldn't show you any dead ones. But from this list, these are all of the companions available to you to recruit into your into your clan. If it says, my clan name is Valdor, so this says Maravik of the Valdor, that guy's already in my clan, so I don't have to worry about it. But these are the companions we'll be taking a look at, and we can find them quickly by, okay, let's look at Lavalios of the Hills. And wow, music's bumping right now. Again, ignore a lot of this information. You shouldn't be able to see equipment sell value, level, prisoner, or army. In fact, I'm going to collapse this and this. You won't even actually be able to see his attributes. You'll only be able to see his skills, and then his last seen location, which is Quasira, which is actually pretty dated it already. So we can press this button to add him to a bookmark to find him easily if we want to. But mainly we want to find where he's at, right? So Corsair, that's 1 day ago. Okay, that's pretty far away, but we'll press track. But before we even do that, before we dedicate ourselves to doing this, I'm going to keep the encyclopedia right here. I'm going to close. And we're going to go over here to Poros. I don't think you have to go to the Tavern District, but I just do it because I think that's where they get the rumors. And then we're going to go in and out, basically. Press N. Okay, see now that says last seen at Corsair today rather than 1 day ago. So it updates all of your wanderers' locations for you to quickly find them. So you now have to make the trek all the way over here to Corsair to find this companion. If you do that though, just stop in on towns along the way to make sure he's still there. He might have moved over to Hubyar or Iakis or Sanala. They randomly move every so couple of days, but that's how you would quickly track down any of these heroes. Diathma, pretty close actually. No, that's actually pretty far away still. But see, that's kind of just how you do it. You look on the map, let's say, okay, the Shield Maiden, okay, she's at Donustica. That's not too far away, that's right over here. Okay, we can go get that. So finding your companions is a pretty big part of this situation. And if you don't know how to do it, it can be very frustrating. So this is pretty much the main way you would do it, right? You just go through this list, you find them, okay, Koyaz. And all these say today because we just popped into the town and it updated here for us. So that is how you find your companions across the list. So let's start getting into some of the best companions here in Bannerlord. So the first character we're going to be taking a look at is the Scout. Some things to keep in mind here are that when we take a look at this list, you'll have a different list that looks somewhat different from this. It's just an Excel spreadsheet and you can organize it however you see fit. But when you take a look at this, you'll see Wastes, Hills, Horse Thief, Huntress. It doesn't matter what their first name is. It only matters what the last portion of their name is. So going back to the game really quick, let's just take a look. This says Castor the Boar, Cow Thief, Blood Axe. That little ending portion, Iron Belly, Deadeye, Willowbark, that's the kind of denotion of who that character actually is. So looking over here, we also see the culture. It's worth noting that the Aserai have the best single focus characters. You want the best scout, it's an Aserai scout. You want the best surgeon, it's an Aserai. Guess what? If you want the best engineer, it's Aserai. Actually, it might be engineering. I can't remember. We're going to take a look because it's in this video. But also keep in mind that you don't need to find the very best character, like I've said a million times now, because take a look at this guy right here. This black character, the Volandia Black, 80 scouting, but he still has 160 bow. He has like 120 two-handed and 90 athletics. He's still great at other things. And on top of it, even if you got the lowest scout skill character at the beginning of the game, they're going to increase in scout skill so quickly. So don't worry if you don't get the very best or it just hasn't spawned into your game. So to kind of give you a real quick way before we break down, the best actual scout, you kind of can see its Wastes here. Let's take a look at Aserai and Wastes. So we'll go back to the game, return game. So we have our Wanderer Heroes Encyclopedia up. So culture, that's what we're taking a look at, not kingdom, because kingdom means that they're part of that kingdom. Culture is what their culture is, the character themselves. I click Cow Thief, says Culture Battanian. So let's click Aserai. Well, I don't see any of the Wastes on here. That's okay. Like I said, actually, I think this guy is of the Wastes. Yeah, he is. Fathid of the Wastes. So this character is of the Wastes, but let's assume that I didn't have him. Let's click Volandia. And we could then see, oh, okay, this is Shark, Loud, Deadeye. Well, that's the second best, right? Well, what about Battanian Horse Thief? And this is how you would kind of do it. You just kind of go down, click the cultures. Okay, cool. We got the Horse Thief right here. He's got 100 scout skill. I'm going to go pick him up and I'm good to go. So now that we've kind of gone through how to get the character, let's just quickly talk about what ones are the best. And the Wastes obviously has the best single scout skill. I always try to focus this character because on top of it, they've got really good bow skill. What that means for me is that I can use that character as the captain of my range regiment, my archer infantry, foot archers. So I can make that character my captain. So it fits a two-purpose role. He'll also give bonuses to athletics. And if I actually have him in control of any fiends, he'll make really good bonuses to the fiends. So I find the wastes to be one of the best single companion characters because scouting is great to have. Bow is going to be good to benefit your archers. And like I said, if you're putting a bunch of fiend archers, the Battanian Noble line, this benefits them even further. On top of that, if I were to jump down from wastes, I would actually skip over Volandia of the Hills because, yeah, he's got 120 scouting and 90 one-handed and 120 crossbow, which is great if I'm doing a Volandian build. But I prefer the Battanian Horse Thief because he's got great one-handed and good polearm, as well as throwing, riding. He just is a better, more well-rounded character that allows me to pull into, say, I can place him on horseback and have him be a really good commander of my riding characters. I could put him on foot and he would still give really great bonuses to my infantry because of his one-handed. He doesn't have any athletics, but still he has polearm. So he's going to give bonuses to any infantry that has both one-handed and polearm. And if I had to follow this up with another one that is not the very top pick, it'd probably be the Tracker, which has 150 one-handed, 151 polearm, 125 bow. I mean, you can see this is just such a well-rounded character that I could make them the captain of virtually anything else. I couldn't make them a party leader, but they've got a really great role in the Tracker. I think if I couldn't get the wastes, I'd probably go for the Tracker. If I had to be like honest about it, I'm losing 40 scouting skill, but I'll earn that back so quickly. So I would just search Volandian culture, look for anyone with the Tracker surname onto them, and I'd find a really good character that could fit into the captaincy of almost anything I need them to within my army. Moving into the best surgeon, we have the Aserai Scholar, which is leaps and bounds above the rest. Now, unlike the Scout, which had a bunch of really fun dynamic options, for your surgeon, it's kind of a very linear playing field. Everyone, for the most part, has, as you can see, 70 one-handed, 70 throwing, and 70 athletics. The Aserai Scholar has 30 more one-handed, 20 more throwing, and 21 more athletics. So they're naturally better in those roles, so they can fit into those roles as sergeants. I've personally never found the need to put the surgeon into the sergeant role, or I'm sorry, into the captain role in the battlefield, just because I always find that I get, you could find a generic one-handed, non-role specific character that just fits a better captain role than a surgeon. And I just don't want my surgeon to get ripped apart. So I don't know why I never make them captains. So their combat capabilities are always kind of never a focus of mine. But it's a linear progression. Like I said, you have the Volandian Bitter Draft at 60, but then at the Aserai Scholar at 120. Finding any one of these, though, to be totally honest with you, is way better than nothing. A lot of people recommend, just you be the surgeon and you get your surgeon skill to 25 for the first perk. It is very nice, but getting just 60 surgeon right out the gate allows it so that you don't have to deal with as many as many dead soldiers. You get more wounded soldiers, which come back to life, right? They get back up. So getting that Aserai Scholar at 121 in your early game is a huge boon. But finding the healer, the surgeon, the willow bark, or the bitter draft is still going to be a massive boon to your campaign. And if they haven't populated in your campaign yet, they will, or they might. Companions come and go from that companion list. This is something I forgot to talk about a little bit ago, but in the beginning portions of the game, you'll have less of a companion pool to pull from. And as the latter portions of the game progress, or just as days go by, more companions will populate into the realm and some will actually leave. So if you don't have any at the start, you might get some later. Just kind of keep those things in mind. But this is arguably the best medicine or scholar. The scholar is the best surgeon in the game with 121 medicine. Moving into the best engineer, we have again the Aserai Engineer. That's his title, is just engineer. Now there is an Empire Scholar, and it's important you don't get the Empire Scholar and the Aserai Scholar mixed up. It's why this culture tab is so important, because now if I want to go find the best surgeon and I'm looking for scholar and I just go, oh, I found a guy, he's a scholar, he's perfect, it's him. Well, you probably maybe found the Empire Scholar and you're actually just going to get a decent engineer. Well, used to be the best engineer actually. So make sure you are actually looking for the proper Azerian engineer. Now you can see he has got the best engineering at 80, but he might not necessarily be truly the best engineer. I think it kind of depends on what you want to use the character for outside of engineering. If you want him as a governor or something like that, well, he actually doesn't have anything good when it comes to steward, trader, medicine, but he has at least decent crossbow at 120. The Khazate guy of knowing has 100 crossbow, which is okay, but he doesn't really have anything else. Truly, I think the best actual engineer is the Vlandian Wainwright, who has 110 bow, because you probably have access to a lot of bow characters. He's going to have 60 two-handed and 50 athletics. So this will at least give him abilities to threaten into other things if you put him in sieges with you. He'll actually be able to be at least a somewhat competent captain, and he'll just be able to kind of hold his own a little bit better. If you want to jump down a little bit more, Accursed's going to give you more bow, more two-handed, and more athletics, but you lose 20 engineering. Now, unlike Scout or Surgeon, you're not going to have very many opportunities to increase engineering for your companions, let alone yourself. So I would try to get the Vlandian Wainwright if I could. Barring that, the Khazate Knowing or Azerian Engineer, I think that's kind of dealer's choice, whichever one you have access to. The 91-handed on the Engineer is nice and all, but I think the Wainwright kind of has a little bit more to offer to you as a competent captain of archers with 110 bow and plenty of perks to give attributes to, versus 91-handed, where you could, like I said, just find a generic combat companion. You could replace that. But again, for engineer, I would focus on trying to get the max engineering you could, just because with scouting, you wander around the map, you're going to increase your scouting. With surgeon, you get in combat, you're going to increase your medicine skill. Engineering has such a niche level of trying to improve the skill that it's really just get the guy with the best one and just walk away from there. It's also the companion I don't think you really need to worry about. I almost never fill the engineering role, and I've won plenty of sieges. So it does help to have an engineer in siege 100%, because they can set up the camps quicker, they can build better siege engines actually, and they get access to siege engines quicker. But you might have a better engineer in your army when you're sieging, so it won't even really matter if you just have this NPC who's with me, another noble, has got like 180 engineering. Well, it defaults to him being the engineer for the army. So I wouldn't worry about that as much. The worst engineer is the boar, but solely because of his engineering skill. He still has 160 one-handed, 170 polearm, some good riding, I think, on here. Nope, I was wrong. I thought he had good riding. But still, the boar, even though he's the worst engineer, is still a pretty solid character and with great one-handed and great polearm. So it kind of goes to show you, from a lot of what we've talked about so far, the best single skill character isn't always the best character. And that's what I'm trying to kind of impress upon with each one of these sections, is that if you don't find the best one, it's okay. There's probably plenty of other things that other character does that are really good, that they're really good at, and you'll get skill points in the other things that you want them to focus on over time. So let's jump into some other roles that you can fill with your companions. Moving over to some of our best captains, I want to talk about the best infantry captain for your army. Now, again, this is going to be very variable depending on how your army composition is made up. And I've organized this list by one-handed skill, as one-handed skill is going to give you probably the most benefit to individual heavy infantry soldiers. But heavy infantry soldiers also have polearms. Sometimes they have two-handed skill. They definitely need athletics, and every so often they've got throwing, depending upon what you're looking at, right? Certain portions of the Imperial infantry line have throwing skill, but then they lose it when they become a legionnaire, when they have the pilum, which can only be, thrown once. They use it as a polearm otherwise. So what we're looking at is a character, or looking for is a character that doesn't have a single skill like scouting or medicine, but a wide range of skills to offer that can fit into the multiple types of units that will fill that infantry formation position. So taking a look at this, and again, I've organized this from one-handed, you would think that maybe the Golden is the best single character for maintaining the captainship of the infantry soldiers, or maybe the boar. But I actually don't find that to be the case. Even though they've got 180 or 160 one-handed skill, it doesn't necessarily matter. And if I scroll all the way down here, you've got plenty of characters to choose from. So again, still don't feel like you're going to be missing out. But really the best ones, in my opinion, is the Sturgian Blood Axe. You could also extend this to Sturgian Coalbiter or Khazate She-Wolf, but you could even go further down to the Azurai Swordsman. All of them have a very similar stat range here of 150 one-handed, 200 two-handed, 170 polearm, and 110 athletics. This gives them a wide range of traits that can apply to both one-handed and two-handed soldiers. So a two-handed soldier could be something like, damn, I can't even think of a two-handed soldier. A Fiend is a two-handed soldier, but they're going to be in your archer situation more than your infantry. I mean, I can't think of a two-handed. The Azurai Palace Guard would be a two-handed soldier, or the Sturgian Line Breakers would be a two-handed soldier. A polearm character would be any one of your heavy infantry soldiers that also uses a polearm. But this can also apply to Manavliatons or the Falksmen, any of the ones that use those heavy swinging polearms to do damage. So this is a really great wide-ranging character that gets a lot of benefits. You could even put the Volandian Tracker in here, which in my opinion, might be one of the best single characters for his wide range of skills to apply to almost everything. He's got 150, 150, 151 in all three of those critical vigor skills, and 100 athletics, 100 throwing, 100 crossbow, 125 bow. It gets better, 100 riding. So you could put him in any slot. And on top of it, he's got that 100 scouting that we talked about earlier. So I think probably one of the best characters is the Volandian Tracker for nearly goddamn everything. But let's look at what the Sturgian Blood Axe looks like in the actual game. So jumping back here into this menu, I can see the perks that he has active. Well built is personal. Form fitting is personal, but it's also got a captaincy on here. Tier 3 foot troops in your formation gain 4% movement speed. This one, not going to apply, but this one, sprint will. Infantry troops in your formation gain 3% movement speed during battle. So you can see that these things actually very much help the character and help out his captaincy, right? Whatever he is to for his type formations, your troops receive 25% less morale penalty from casualties when using shield wall, square, skein, or column formations. Things that you'll be using quite a bit if there is an infantry commander. So you get a lot of really great things from the one-handed and two-handed and polearm skill of the Blood Axe character. And I think like it kind of fits, right? Like that the Blood Axe character is arguably like the best infantry commander. I mean, but Coalbiter and She-Wolf both fill the same roles. Swordsman, the same exact style of role. Their perks might be a little bit varied and different how the game has decided them. And that's again when choosing a lower skill soldier could really come in handy because, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to choose, I don't even know who, right? Sturgian Lucky character. And I'm going to choose different one-handed perks for him. You can download a mod that allows you to completely respec them, but your best infantry commander is probably any one of these right here with the Volandian Tracker kind of reigning supreme amongst all of them because it can just fit so many different roles. But I would definitely look to those initially for my infantry commanders. Switching gears, let's talk about the best cavalry captain companion that you can have. That was a tongue twister. And it is the Azurai Golden character. He's also the best party leader, which we'll talk about in a little bit here, but he offers a lot of great things because he's got the most riding of any companion in conjunction with the most one-handed with the most riding and the most polearm with the most riding and the most throwing with the most riding. Why all four of those things are important is, of course, riding is going to be the chief skill we're taking a look at when it comes to any cavalry character. One-handed is going to be the big thing they're going to use, but polearm is going to be their primary form of damage. And throwing is going to be useful if you're taking a look at the Azurai Ferris character, right? The noble line of Azurai has throwing as a very huge and primary draw of them. In addition to, if you're looking at the Sturgian line, you've got mounted skirmisher units that throw weapons. You get them in Britannia. Do you? Yes. Do you? Yes. Yes, you do. So you've got throwing as a really nice thing that you can take advantage of in 3 separate kingdoms types of cavalry characters. And you get really good follow-ups after this. I mean, you've got the Falcon, Dispossessed, and Horse Thief are all very good, but the Volandian Loud character is also still very great because he's got good athletics and good two-handed. So if this character is manning or if he is the captain of your cavalry characters or formation and you go into a siege, he'll still give some boosts to athletics as a captain of that unit. Same thing here with the Empire Silent character. The worst one, of course, is going to be something like Sturgian Frostbeard, which has 70 riding, but no one hand, no polearm, no throwing, nothing. He does have two-handed, which is cool, but he doesn't even have athletics to give bonuses into. He's really just not geared for it. I think he's got some good bow, but that's really it. And maybe if you're thinking purely of an actual melee cavalry character, the ragged might be your quote-unquote worst, but you still get a bunch of other nice skills. So you just got to make sure that what you're putting as the captain fits the different roles that those units or that formation will be taking advantage of. They're going to be using that one-handed skill if they get kind of trapped into combat. They're going to use that polearm primarily if they're a specific type of throwing unit or a specific type of cavalry. They'll use throwing. So keep those things in mind for your army composition. But the Aserai Golden character is your best bet here. Taking a look at his perks in game just to give you an idea of what that additional 20 riding is going to do. It's not going to do a whole ton, right? Because the 150 is the perk level, but he gets him closer to the next perk level. And the perk at 150 for him in this current, I think this is all randomly generated for his perks. He has Horse Archer, which is mounted archers in your formation deal 5% more range damage. That's okay. That is what it is. But Nimble Steed is very nice because mounted troops in your formation gain 30 riding skill. And this kind of comes back to that 20 extra riding that he has above the other character candidates. If we go over to our character profile, click on riding, we can see what riding actually does for the individual. Increases speed, maneuverability, mounted weapon damage penalty, and weapon speed and reload penalty is reduced up to, I think it's 40 or 50 is when that becomes 0%. But then dismount resistance is increased as well. So having that 30 extra skill on all of your cavalry characters is a very nice boon to have. Again, those perks are more often than not randomly associated with the character, so don't always kind of bank on them being there. But still, my point is that at 170 riding, he is only 5 points away from the next perk level that you can then choose if you bring him into your army, versus the characters below that have to wait 25 skill to jump up to Breeder, which is actually very good, but it's only for party leaders and governors, or Riding Horde, again for party leaders and governors. Two things to kind of consider, but that golden character is a great party leader. Let's move over now into some archers before talking about horse archers. For archers, we have a very similar cast of characters, and you're going to be not surprised here that the Aserai Wastes character is the best single bow character. This is the same one with the very high scouting skill, right? I think it's 140. 140 scouting. So he kind of serves that dual purpose, right? He can be the character that is your scout as well as the captain of your archers, and he brings a lot of great attributes to the table. Athletics at 110, which is very nice, but it's kind of weird here that the best archers, all the way down to 135, are also good at two-handed, but not at one-handed. The majority of your archer characters, Aserai Master Archer, the Palatine Guard, Vlandians are crossbows, but your Khazate Marksmen, all of your archer characters use one-handed swords, except for the Fians, which are the best archers in the game, and they all use two-handed swords. So you can kind of take those things with that, not necessarily grain of salt, but keep those things in mind that if you maybe do want to focus on Fian characters, the best archer is still going to benefit them with 150 two-handed skill. If you want to stick strictly with one-handed, you don't want any bonuses to two-handed, your next best chance is the Khazate Hawk with 130 bow. So you've got that because he gives access to 120 one-handed, but personally, if I were to choose, it would go to, again, the Vlandian Tracker. 125 bow, 150 one-handed, and 100 athletics. Athletics is all very important for these roles because even though they're not going to be riding downfield and attacking things with their swords, having the athletic skill is really good because it may help out with their speed, their health, whatever it is, however the perks have been allocated. So let's take a look at what Wastes looks like in the game here. We can see this character, and here's two-handed here. Infantry troops in formation are leading, have their damage increased by 15% against shields. That's not a two-handed exclusive capability, so keep those things in mind. On the edge, infantry troops in this formation who are leading have their swing speed increased by 2%. Again, not a two-handed focused thing in mind. It's just a swing speed increase across the board. So they don't need to have two-handed weapons to take advantage of this. I was just trying to tell you, like, okay, if you don't, for some reason, like some thematic reason, you don't want him to use a two-handed weapon, then here you go. Use a one-handed one. But bow gives a lot of really great capabilities for captains. Equip troops information, gain 5% bow damage, ignore 5% of armor, 5% accuracy with bows. I think the rest here are personal and governor. Yeah, personal and governor, and so on and so forth. So keep those things in mind when you are deciding here. Athletics for troops information, gain 10% weapon handling. Does not, regardless of single or two-handed weapon. So just kind of reinforcing this point, it doesn't matter if they're not using two-handed weapons, they'll still give those bonuses, but it's just thematically, if you want them to have two-handed weapons, but the rest of your archers having one-handed weapons or vice versa, it's up to you. I personally find that if you're using a bow and arrow, having a two-handed weapon kind of makes a little bit more sense, because you can have a two-handed weapon, then a bow, then 2 slots for arrows. If you want to use a shield, go for it. You just lose a slot for your arrows. So keep those things in mind. Your wastes is your best character for single highest bow attribute points. But if I had to probably choose the best one overall, it probably would go to the Volandian Tracker yet again, because he just has so many more attributes you can give bonuses to that will give bonuses to just everything, if they're everything across the board, like infantry and whatnot. But let's go now into our horse archer. For horse archer across the board, it's kind of a wild game here. You do want good riding skill, but you probably primarily want better bow skill than anything else, because you want to make sure that they have good access to those bow attributes, that armor penetration, the accuracy, the damage, whatever it is. And the Khazad Hawk wins the game here with 120 riding, 130 bow, and 120 one-handed. Of course, I'm just going to mention it. The Volandian Tracker is on the list here because he still has 125 bow, 100 riding, and 150 one-handed. So he definitely gives a plenty of options to your characters. But strictly speaking, that Hawk is going to fill that role quite well. And naturally, right, the Khazad are the best, like, horse lords, right? The riders of Rohan of Calradia, so they fit into that role quite nicely. And even if you just take this guy, Frostbeard, at 70 riding and 135 bow, he still will be a very competent archery commander. So again, just to kind of bring this point home, you don't need the very best one. If I scroll up, you still have a bunch of different options here for good high riding characters, but they might not have the best bow. They might have crossbow skill. I don't think any of them really do, to be honest. Yeah, they don't have any crossbow skill. Just making sure here. Unless it's that Volandian Tracker, if he's the single best character in the game. Easily, I think probably the single best, like, combat-oriented companion in the game, because you can just cover fucking everything. I've said it like 40 times now. But again, here, Khazad Hawk fills that role for that archer quite well. Taking a look at what he looks like in the game, too, you see all these perks. Bow control, bodkin, and quick adjustments were ones that we already saw, giving access to accuracy, ignoring enemy armor, and doing that damage to bow. Full speed on riding is going to help out with mounted troops in your formation, gain 10% charge damage. Not as crucial, of course, but these will sometimes be randomized depending on what they are. But you also get stuff like Deflect, which increases their combat effectiveness, and Shield Bearer, which increases their movement speed by 3%. Things that you'll kind of learn to appreciate for your horse archers in Mountain Blade Bannerlord. Talking about the best party leader companion, we have to take a look at tactics and leadership in the game to better understand them. So for tactics, this gives you a simulation advantage. That's every time you press send troops, and that's what your AI or what the companion is going to do for you if it's leading an army. It's going to be using tactics primarily. Also decreases sacrifice troop number when trying to get away, and leadership is going to increase morale of the party under your command, and garrison size by 56. Not as crucial unless you make them a governor. So let's go back to our list and take a look and decide what is the best character. And we have 3 candidates as the best leadership or best party leading companion: Falcon, Golden, and Wanderer. I like Golden as the best character in this slot because he just can apply so many other attributes. Because you also have to look at riding and one-handed and two-handed and throwing and polearm and athletics. He doesn't have any athletics or two-handed, so we don't have to look there. But these other skills, they might have perks that he's selected that give him party leader, which is the only role that a companion can actually take advantage of, right? Wait, that didn't make any sense. I'm saying that this is the only time that that companion can take advantage of that party leader parenthetical notation on a perk. So if they've got that perk and it says party leader / party leader, they don't get that bonus until they're actually set as a party leader. And having such a high amount of perks to take advantage of, it increases the chances that he would possibly have a good party leader perk to take advantage of, and having that leadership and tactics to then push into those roles. Wanderer is still good though, because he also has 80 scouting, so they'll be good at actually scouting all across the map for you, well, for themselves. And Falcon is still good here too, because they've got decent enough riding and one-handed and throwing and polearm. Just not as good as the Golden. Golden's got, what, 40 or 39 more here. He's got, I almost said 60 here, but 59 more here, 40 more here, 69 here. It's also not the right number, but still. 59 more there. So plenty of skills to take advantage of. And the Golden is again, one of the best characters that fits that role. It just definitely a kind of one of those come-all characters that can do a lot of different things. And we've seen this character before, but taking a look at it from the leadership and tactics perspective, we get tight formations. Your infantrymen deal 10% more damage to cav in simulations. They don't get the captain portion. That's worth noting. They don't get that captain portion unless, actually, I don't think they assign themselves captainship in the simulations, but party leader troops deal 5% more damage in simulations and open fields. +1 troops to join you when fighting in hideouts. Doesn't really matter for them. 10% more damage in simulations against bandit parties. 4 XP per day for tiers 1 to 2. And both of these are going to apply here. Heroic leader, not going to apply at all. But loyalty and honor will both apply to him. So keeping these things in mind, having these good tactics and leadership characters are really going to pay out for you. And it's worth noting too that even if you were to choose the Khazate She-Wolf, which is arguably the worst on the list with 30 leadership and 20 tactics, they might still have really good two-handed polearm athletics and or one-handed perks that do have party leader. So as I've said many, many times before, don't feel like you're getting shortchanged if you only have the Khazate Outcast in your campaign at the current moment. They might still make a just fine party leader, or you want them to become a good party leader, so you assign them party leadership. So keep those things in mind. Also worth noting too, when you do make someone a party, when you have them as your party, we're not a vassal right now, but you would click this button right here, these flags, and you could have your party, the other party in your clan, come and join your army. And they do that for free without costing you any influence. And it is a great way to increase your leadership, maintain high morale in your party, assemble and lead armies, and upgrade your troops. So this allows you to get a lot of leadership very quickly by simply just leading a army of your party and another one of your own clan's parties. Moving over to a pretty linear one, we have the best caravan leader, and it's the Aserai Spice Vendor, like hands down, because this is again a very linear progression. Your level of trade and your level of steward are going to make you a better caravan leader, especially stewardship, which is going to give you access to more troops in your party as you go. So the Spice Vendor kind of just fits that role immediately. You could have the Spice Vendor actually fill the quartermaster role of your own army if you want, until you get to the point that you want her to lead a caravan for you. And that's not a terrible idea. She has 120 one-handed, 140 crossbow, so she could actually lead a Volandian unit of crossbowmen if you wanted her to. But as you go down this list to the Volandian Bitter Draft, you have a character that has got 40 trade and 40 steward, which is not going to make them as good of a caravan leader, but they'll still be pretty good and, well, decent enough in combat across the board here, just kind of middling 70. Actually, they're not decent enough. They're terrible in combat. I lied to you. I tried to be optimistic on that guy. I just wasn't. He's not going to fit the bill, man. But you definitely want to make sure that you're getting your Azerian Spice Vendor or Empire Exile or Khazate Swift. Below that, it's just rough and tumble. Those are your 3 best bets for your best caravan leader in Mount & Blade. To cap us off, let's talk about the best governor for your fiefs, for your territories. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more of an expanded discussion because it's not so cut and dry. You're not just choosing one simple skill set and going, cool, it's going to work, done. If you do want more of an automatic choice, you're like, hey, I don't care about building anything out from scratch. Just tell me the quickest one, guy. It's probably going to be one of these 3. The Aserai Engineer, the Khazate Knowing, or Volandian Wainwright, just because they have the most engineering, and engineering increases the build rate or the build speed in which you make buildings within your fiefs. There you go. There it is. You're done. But actually, the best character for this has things across multiple fields here. Engineering, We just talked about that, but it's also going to help out with just kind of producing better buildings and whatnot. Medicine's going to help out with stuff when it comes to sieges, recovering from those sieges, wounded soldiers in the sieges. Your stewardship is going to help out with increasing certain capacity within your individual fief, maybe happiness, maybe loyalty, maybe the hearth, which is basically the population within your entire fiefdom, and its creation of militia and what have you. Trade is going to help out with certain income portions of this. Leadership is going to help out with the proficiency of your garrison. Do you have a really top tier garrison? Well, leadership's going to help with that, a garrison size, what have you. All those things are going to be important. So what you do is the best true governor is built from the ground up, and you have to kind of look at things a little bit long term. You yourself have to decide where you're going to have your fief. Are you going to create a kingdom? Okay, if you're creating a kingdom, where is the cultural location of your kingdom going to be? Let's say you choose any one of the towns in Khazate. Well, that means that the city's culture will be Khazate. So you want to choose a governor whose culture matches that. From there, you want to then decide like how or when you want this to happen. If you're being maybe a vassal, maybe you have a backline and it's just not as important to you. So you're just not very quickly trying to boost your fief. So to kind of do this as a slower pace. But this is when your companion's level kicks in here. So the Khazate knowing is at level 10, meaning his skill allocation is very low, very minimal. So you can actually level this character up quickly. And when you level them up quickly, you're going to start to focus on medicine, steward, trade, and leadership. And you do this by assigning them the quartermaster with 7+ food variety, right? A bunch of different food. Medicine, assign them as the surgeon. They're going to boost their medicine. For trade, make them the caravan leader. For leadership, make them a leader of a party. Engineering, what have you. This is how you build this character from the ground up. And this reinforces something that we talked about earlier when it comes to not choosing the best one for the role. Maybe, you know what? The game just started and I have access to the 120 medicine character, but I only have tier 1, 2, and 3 troops. If they die, they're easy to replace. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to focus on my medicine or on that top tier medicine character. I might go recruit him and make him just a captain, but I'm actually going to work on the medicine of the future governor I have in mind. So that's when you'd place that character as your surgeon. Let him build up his actual skill. Do a bunch of fights with just looters and simulate them to boost all those things up. This is when the bitter draft, a character I talked crap about a little bit ago, is actually pretty good. He already has 60 medicine, 42 steward, and 40 trade, and he's level 11. So he's going to get skill way faster. And remember, you are the one allocating these skill points. So if we jump back to our character thing here, here's one of our companions. You allocate these attribute and these focus points as you see fit. So let's just jump over to my character. Let's say this is a companion I wanted to work on. Well, I got 9 focus points, and we're going to put them into steward. We're going to put them into trade and engineering and leadership here. I'm just going to make sure this character is just filled out. It's just jacked to the loins on these focus points of mine. So that's why getting an underexperienced character isn't the worst thing in the world. It's actually very good. And this is how you build these characters from the ground up. So take a look here. We'll look down this list. The Battanian Healer is a good one too. Already starts with 82 medicine. I would say maybe choose the character whose skill you don't want to worry about building up on your own. Like, man, I don't want to deal with engineering. Okay, well then take this Khazate knowing guy. Or the Empire Scholar, who's level 10 with 60 engineering. You just don't have to deal with it. So you just kind of go from there. The Volandian Wainwright, level 11, 80 engineering. Work on the rest of the stuff. You can go all the way down here to the Willowbark, Sturgian Willowbark. Still, you got 62 medicine. So these characters, while they seem like kind of throwaway characters, when the hell am I ever going to use him? This is when it comes to the 4. The Empire Surgeon, 82 right there. The Spice Fenner actually can be pretty good here if you never want to work on steward or trade and just work on engineering and medicine. But they're level 14, so keep in mind it's going to slow things down, their progression down. So this is how you kind of build the proper governor. The proper governor doesn't really exist in the game out the gate because the governorship is spread across so many different skills to really get the most value out of them. And a huge shout out to my big bro here, Flesson19. He has a ton of videos that cover this exact subject. He gave me a really great breakdown on how you actually make the best governors by really focusing on these skills. You start early in the game. You don't start late in the game. You don't start when you've got your fief, is basically what he was saying. Well, if it's your first fief, maybe just appoint the engineer, then you work on the next one. But you work on this in the early portions of your game. Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord is supposed to be built or played from as a very long form game. And the first 100 days of your game, the economy hasn't even balanced. And that's like 20 hours of gameplay, depending on how you play, really. So keep these things in mind. You might not be able to be off to the races with the best governor right out the gate. That's cool. You're going to have to build it from the ground up. You might not have access to the best armor in the game. It will come in due time. You might not have access to all these companions. They will populate in your game over time. Don't worry about it. So with all that being said, that brings our video here to a close. If you have any questions about your companions, maybe there's certain ones that I missed and you wanted to find out what the best one is, you've got access to that Excel document. You can just go ahead and pull from there, take a look at whatever you want, or maybe you want to ask me directly. Please, by all means, leave me a comment below. Or maybe you've said, you know what? Screw your ideas, Italian Spartacus. This is actually the best character for this role, and here's why. Let it be known in the comment section below. Try to disseminate as much information out to the people so that they can make informed decisions about their campaign and ensuring that they have the best companion for the roles that they see fit. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Go ahead and let me know if there's any videos you want to see covered as far as guides. I will be redoing all of my unit breakdown guides where I take a look at each individual kingdom's units and rating them on a tier scale of low, mid, and high tier. So we'll be doing that here in the coming week or so. So be on the lookout for that. But any other videos that you want to see, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. As always, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.